Good morning or afternoon or evening. Hello, wherever you are in the world. Welcome. It's Christine Elder here, and we're doing my top tips for fostering a nature journal practice with some sketching thrown in. Hi, I'm Christine Elder, and I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist here in Central Oregon. And there's two reasons I'm teaching this workshop today. One is because the weather is not very good for sketching outdoors in a lot of places in the world. So right now in all across Oregon and California, we've got terrible wildfires. So I'm prepared with my eye drops because it's really hurting my eyes, the smoke, and my throat spray, and a cool towel here in case I get too hot. But other places on the East Coast are having hurricanes and flooding, and there's just a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. So that's one of the reasons is I wanted us to have a chance to sketch indoors. And the second reason for today's workshop was inspired by one of my one-on-one Zoom calls I had with one of my students in my Nature Notebook Club. And I'll tell you guys about that later. And so she was talking about her struggle to really be consistent. And so I'm going to give you my top tips. We're going to start with number one here. We're really hi-fi here. So I'm going to give you my top tips. And then at the end, I'll tell you more about the Nature Journaling Club. And then, of course, we'll do some sketching because I collected a bunch of stuff last night at a local park. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw I brought you live out into the park while I was collecting things for us to draw today. I'm a trained natural science illustrator. I've worked professionally in that for decades. I've created things like junior ranger booklets, and I just finished a series of 7 books on the habitats of the world for Princeton University Press. So I do love doing really detailed biological illustrations, but my real love is teaching and working with folks like you, adults and kids of all ages to inspire you to get outdoors and nature sketch and journal. So keep saying hello in the chat box. Hello, Jennifer from California, and Laura from Albuquerque, and Roberta from Missoula. So many beautiful places. And Karen, hola, ¿cómo estás? Estudiando español ahora. So Karen's tuning in from Mexico. And I have actually taught nature sketching and journaling internationally in Mexico and Honduras and Jamaica and Costa Rica. And I've led nature journaling holidays. So lots of stuff. Anyway, you can learn more about me later. But anyway, let's get started. So again, our plan is I'm going to share my top 10 tips for having more regular nature journal practice. Whether you're stuck inside or whether you can get outdoors into your garden or a local park or even traveling internationally. And then I'm going to share my second webcam where we're going to look down here at my sketching page here. And we're going to do some live sketching for fun together. So make sure you have something to draw with. I'm actually going to draw with pens. One, so that you can see it better than a pencil, and two, because pens don't have an eraser, and we don't want to overthink this. We just want to have fun and just draw, without any hesitation or judgment or second guessing. So we're just going to be doing some quick gesture sketches, and we'll go for about an hour, although if we're having fun and people are still here, I'll keep going with more live sketching with you guys. How does that sound? And so, hello, everybody. So hello, Adagio. Do I know you? I think I remember you were one of my students a while back. Yeah. And of course, Cindy and Diana, and we've got all kinds of people. Okay, so let's really get started. So my top tips And so again, this was inspired by my one-on-one call with a student who was struggling with getting started. So my top tips, I'm having really high-five tips here, is first, you really want to know your motivation. You want to set your intention for why you want to journal. So, it's just like any goal you have, like let's say you want to get in shape. You wouldn't want to just say, I want to lose 10 pounds and be able to hike 5 miles. It's better to have a real motivation and an intention, like, I want to get in shape so that I can keep up with my grandkids or with my students. So, as we're going through these tips, maybe you can write down on your journal page some of these tips. So again, number one is you're setting your intentions. So it's really good to know the benefits. We all know the benefits of getting outside and of exercise, and that every minute you exercise adds a minute to your life at the end, they say. So, we all know the benefits of getting outside, but if we include the concept of nature journaling added to that, that really helps you to slow down, to get into your right brain, to increase your dopamine levels and reduce your cortisol levels. So so I want you to really set intention. I want you to write down, because this is interactive. I want you to write down what you think your number one motivation or intention would be for journaling, so that you really can think of that. So it's not like a chore, it's something you really want to do and you know why you're doing it. Okay. Just looking at the comments here. Okay, number 2. is setting a goal. Okay, so it's good to have goals, and so you want to know, is your goal to get out and nature journal every day, just on weekends, maybe once a month when you go on holiday? What is your goal? Again, I love if you were interactive here and writing these down on your journal page. So number 2, do you want to go, once a week, once a month? How many minutes? I think even sketching for 5 minutes, you can get a lot done. In fact, I was going to show you a couple pages here that I did. Like recently, I did these sweet peas in my backyard, and this was a demonstration of just how much you could get done in literally 5 minutes. I just free-formed these little sweet peas and then added a little quick color, and I did that in 5 minutes. So it's really good to kind of, have a goal for how often you want to sketch. Again, kind of related to setting those intentions. Okay. All right. Anne says, terrific. Okay, and then number 3, really set a date. Okay, and at the end, remind me at the end I have something special for us, and so make sure to stay to the end related to dates and journaling with a regular practice. Okay, so it really helps to set a date. They say if it's not scheduled, it's not real. So I want you to write down right now when you're going to journal. Now, of course, we're going to do it today, but are you going to try to do it, like every afternoon or once a week? Tell us. So Jennifer, she's sharing her intention in nature journaling is when you go on a dog walk every day, you're surrounded by nature and you'd like to be more present, right? Anne says morning during coffee. Yeah, so you can write these tips, right in the chat box too. I really love having interactions. It can get quite lonely teaching online and just, staring at my webcam. Sorry, I think I wasn't looking at my camera. I'm looking at my screen, which is down below. I should be looking up there at my camera. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4. For a nature regular practice is pairing it with an existing habit or routine. So like Jennifer said, she's got a dog. She has to go out and walk it every morning. And maybe it's a mellow dog and she can get it to sit in a meadow or at a picnic table and she can sketch for a few minutes. So what is an existing routine or habit that you could pair the sketching with? Now, this is a really common way to start a new habit, is to pair it with something you already do. Okay, so like, do you sit and have your morning coffee and look out your bay window like I'm looking at? Or do you have afternoon tea in your living room? Can you sit and do that? Or again, do you hike? I hike every afternoon. I do a big loop of 4 miles at our local Shevlin Park. And I'm always out there sketching or taking photos or going live if you know me and you follow me on Instagram. So what can you pair your nature journaling with that you could do so that you could remember? It's like a memory, like I'm going to go hiking, I'm going to bring my stuff, and I'm going to sketch for at least 5 minutes. Okay, so yeah, Kay, she walks to the local lake. Dana wants to do it 3 times a week in the morning. Nanette's goal is consistently sketching for 10 minutes. Great, good things. Okay, wonderful. I'm so happy that you guys are interacting here. So we've got 5 more, and then we're going to sketch together. Number 5 is to find a buddy. You're always more inspired to do something, like my example of getting in shape. You might want to, if you're trying to get in shape, you might want to have a buddy in your neighborhood that you hike with every afternoon, or you go for a morning 1 mile walk every day. So who is a buddy that you could sketch with? I've got my little notes on the back here, and I cut these up from old artwork. See, I'm not being too precious with my artwork. I just cut up these pages from drawings I was doing. So who could you go with? Now, not, everybody is into nature journaling, and maybe your friend doesn't have to nature journal with you. Maybe they are a bird watcher or photographer, or they just don't mind, going for a walk and, sitting on a picnic table for 5 minutes while you sketch. And you might even inspire them to sketch. So yeah, I'm looking at these. Yeah, Carolyn says she always snaps pictures. Yep. So who could you go with? Now, I really always encourage you to find a youth, a kid to go with, because it's just such valuable for kids to get into nature journaling, to get off of their phones and get into something that's more organic. And of course, kids love to draw, and kids are inspiring because, they generally aren't too precious with their drawings, and they're just having more fun with color and observation. So tell me again in the chat box, or especially in your notes too, what kind of buddy could you get to go with you? Again, that will inspire a more regular practice. Okay, numero 6. Okay, so you want to prep your supplies beforehand. Again, it's kind of like scheduling. If it's not scheduled, if it's not real. And if you have your supplies ready and waiting for you, you can just get right out the door more quickly and easily. Okay. And so for me, I have my supplies. I keep them generally really simple. It depends what I'm doing. And I have my little bag that I always have near the door. And so you could do that too, whether you're generally sketching on a hike, or if you're just, homebound and sketching from your kitchen table, looking out the window, have a place, maybe it's just a little box where you keep your art supplies. So for me, it's this waterproof bag that I love, and it has little things for my water bottles, and I will have my supplies. And also part of number 6 of being prepared, having your supplies ready. is just keeping it simple. So I keep my supplies generally in just one of these little waterproof bags. I love these waterproof recycled bags. And so, I'll just have maybe a little palette of colors. Here's my microscopic one I made out of an Altoids box. But I might also have this bigger palette. And then I'm going to have a book. Maybe it'll be this book, or maybe it'll be Jack Law's book. He makes this very nice book with notes and colored paper as well. But you could even keep it more simple by having just a really small notebook. Okay. So, oh yes, Carolyn says you walk with two people and they're always in a rush. Right. Well, again, you could inspire them maybe. So yeah, keeping it simple. So that's number 6, is prepping your supplies. So tell me in the chat box, do you have a simple set of supplies? I've shared my nature sketching starter kit with most of you guys. Hopefully you've downloaded that previously or in the past, and that has my comprehensive list of supplies, but you don't have to get that complicated. Here's another example. This is a mixed media journal, which I really like because it can take some watercolor. And yeah, Cindy said if you leave some things in your car, right? So you might even want to have a couple sets. In fact, when I travel internationally to teach or to go bird watching, and I'm going to bring my art supplies, I generally bring at least 2 complete sets. One of them in my carry-on luggage, if I'm also checking luggage, and then one in my checked luggage, so that even if my checked luggage gets lost, I'll still have my supplies. Okay, and so yeah, keeping it simple, keeping it handy. And again, that analogy of like a goal to get in shape. If you always have your hiking shoes next to the door with your hat and your sunglasses and you're ready to go, it just makes it that much easier. It reduces the decision fatigue. We have a lot of that nowadays, and I certainly do, since I I'm self-employed and run my own business. I have a lot of decision fatigue about, what my biggest priorities are for the day. And so the more you can reduce decisions, the better and quicker you can reach any goal. So Lisa says, yeah, she has her water brush, a small journal, and a Stabilo pencil. I don't have my glasses on. I can't read this stuff. Your Anne has a handmade sketchbook and a Pigma Micron. Right. Great. So you guys can read all those. All right, moving on, because we want to get to our sketching, and we've already spent 20 minutes. Okay, so number 7 is sort of related. It's starting small. So not only in size, like I showed you that smaller sketchbook, which I've already buried somewhere. So you could start small, like this cute sketchbook I got when I was volunteering in Costa Rica. I've done several trips where I volunteer and work with rescue organizations, and I was working with sloths at the Toucan Rescue Ranch. So starting small so that you don't have to be too worried about too many details, and it's really easy to fill a small page more quickly, right? So that's number 7. And also small in terms of time. Like I already showed you how quickly you can sketch something like these sweet peas that I did. Have another example. Oh, here's my recent sketch of when I rescued this really cool beetle and then I let him go in the forest. That was really fun. And another quick one I did a while back were these wax currants, which were just a real quick bit of color and some notes that didn't take very long. Okay, so yeah, number 7, start small in both size and number of minutes. You can get a lot done in just 5 or 10 minutes. And that's why, we're going to be doing some of these quick gesture sketching things with various nature treasures I brought with us. Okay, and it just takes a few minutes as well, to get into your right brain and to reduce your stress. Like I like to juggle. I have these juggling balls. Actually, they're under my table here to prop up my drawing area. But whenever I get stressed, I get the juggling balls out and I just juggle for a few minutes. And that just kind of resets my brain and reduces my cortisol and increases my dopamine. So it really only takes like 5 minutes. We all have 5 minutes. Like if you today, later on, if I catch you checking your Facebook or Instagram for 5 minutes, I'm going to be like, no, think to yourself, no, Christine wants you to spend 5 minutes sketching. Okay. Deal? Put the word deal in the chat box. If you are planning to spend, or if you start finding yourself scrolling on your phone, say, nope, Christine told me. Cindy says deal. Yeah. Karen says, you confess to taking pictures and making fancy pages later. I do a lot of photography just with my phone, and it's amazing how good phones are nowadays. You can see a lot of my pictures and videos on my Instagram and Facebook. So sometimes I agree. I do like to sometimes separate those because when I get outdoors, I want to take a nice hike. I want to burn some calories. I want to hike to the top of that hill. So that's not really cheating. That's okay. You can take photos and you can do a journal page later, whether it's simple or fancy. Yeah. So Dana said deal. Yes. Karen says have to check to see if Christine posted. Oh, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Karen. Yesterday I was posting some things. Anyway, where are we? Okay, so that was number 7. Keep it right and tight, as they say, small in size and number of minutes. Okay, we're almost done here. Number 8, really important, releasing perfectionism. A lot of us are perfectionists, like procrastinating perfectionists. In the chat box, say me if you're a procrastinating perfectionist, right? And so, we find stress sometimes when we're trying to create something. And we've become such a society of consumers. We consume content all the time on our phones and TV. In fact, the politicians just call us consumers, which is terrible. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they called us creators? And so sometimes it's more intimidating to create something and we get all in our mind, like everybody in the chat box is saying, yeah, you're a procrastinating perfectionist, right? And so, when we do our sketching in a few minutes, we're just going to release that. No judgment, no hesitation, no second guessing. And we're going to try to feel like we're kids again. If you've been around kids, anytime in your life or lately, especially, and you see them drawing, they have so much fun. It's not really until they get to be about maybe 5th grade where they start to really want to do things realistically and they start comparing themselves, and maybe some well-meaning teacher says something like, oh, Sally, you're better at math, your sister is a better artist, right? So don't get that monkey off your shoulder, right, of the judging. There are so many other things in this world to be concerned about. Tune into the news for 5 minutes and you see terrible news about wars and famine and climate change and politics. The least of your worries should be that you made a beautiful journal page, right? Please, right. Yes. Okay. And so, Karen says seeks experiences, not things, right? So, my motto is learning to draw while drawing to learn. And the focus is really on while we're drawing something, we are spending more time looking at it than we would if we just passed it by, on a walk or snapped a quick photo of it. we're really learning a lot more just because we're looking at it longer. And that's going to help us have more empathy and understanding for that which we draw. Great. Yes. Good comments. Okay. Where are we? Number nuevo. Okay. So have a theme. Sometimes, again, we get too much decision fatigue and we think, oh my gosh, should I draw that sunflower? Or should I draw that bird or that insect? Or what should I do? And so sometimes it helps to have a theme. So like, again, the other day I was speaking to one of my students on our one-on-one Zoom call inside the Nature Notebook Club, and she's going on a trip pretty soon. And so I said, well, why don't you focus on that? Draw the kinds of things that you might see on your trip. Maybe it's a certain kind of bird or a certain kind of tree or some architecture. And that can narrow down your choices, right? So again, hopefully you might be taking notes. So number 9, what is a theme that you could draw on? So maybe you're a bird watcher like I am, and that's what actually got me into nature sketching versus just more formal scientific illustration, which I just used to do only. I didn't field sketch, but when I became a birder and also a bird watching tour guide, and I had to learn all the birds, I started sketching them in the field. And you've probably seen a lot of my sketches in the past. Well, some of you are brand new. So like last year, I was in Panama and I was sketching, doing a lot of quick sketching. So like this kind of stuff. So really quick sketches in the field just to learn the field marks. And so that was my main theme for several years, especially when I was traveling and trying to learn new species. Boy, I'm getting hot because I have to have the air conditioner off because it's too loud to be able to teach. So that's why I have this wet towel. So sorry if I'm getting all dewy, as they used to say. Yes. Thank you, Karen, for adding that. Yes. And I'll go over them super quickly at the end. So yeah, do any of you have a favorite thing? Now, it doesn't have to be, an exact plant or animal. Your theme for journaling could be something like, I want to sketch just orange things, or I want to sketch the concepts of like symbiosis or competition or food webs. Or maybe you're more into journaling about your feelings about something. So maybe if you're struggling with health issues or something, and you might say, I want to journal about things outdoors that are going to give me a sense of strength. So maybe you might see a dandelion pushing up between the cracks of the sidewalk, and you can think, wow, that's a really strong visual for me to give me some strength. So yeah, I like doing that a lot too. So yeah. Karen Giles says, I want to sketch birds, plants, and flowers. Yes. And some people like trees. Virginia says trees. Now, I happen to be teaching a master class on trees next month as part of my Nature Notebook Club. And so you should check that out. Again, at the end, I'll give you a link. So yeah. Okay. So numero 10, number 10. So to help you have, to release excuses for sketching, especially when you can't get outdoors, like the air quality is terrible here and it's smoky and it's hot, or maybe you're getting flooding on the East Coast for the hurricanes. Collect nature treasures for a rainy day, right? And so I've done workshops before on my cabinet of curiosities. You can see behind me, I've got lots of cool things. But like last night on Instagram, I was taking folks along with me while I was collecting. And even if the weather is hot and sticky and terrible, you can still get outside, walk around the block in your neighborhood and collect some random things to bring back and draw. And so what I suggest is a Ziploc bag. And I usually have a wet piece of paper in there to help keep the plants I collect moist. So like my sunflower is kind of wilting now, but I collected that. And so if you put something like that in a Ziploc bag, it's going to stay moister and a little bit happier for a bit longer. Okay, let's see. Adagio said you draw trucks, right? And Joe said flowers. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so anyway, go out and collect things, collect nature treasures for your cabinet of curiosities. Or if you don't have room for a whole cabinet, you could just have a little box. Like, here's one of my boxes of my curiosities. Okay. And then bonus tips, some bonus tips. Yeah, Nanette says you like to collect feathers, rocks, leaves, and acorns. Yeah, we don't have any native oaks here, but in my front yard, I actually have an oak tree, and it made had such a huge crop last year that we have a whole lawn of acorn saplings now that we haven't pulled out of the lawn yet. Okay, bonus. So one, give yourself permission to play. Again, there's a lot of problems in this world. And the last one you have to worry about is if you've made a beautiful journal page, right? Give yourself permission to play like a kid and think of progress over perfection. Not only progress in your drawing skills, but also progress in your observation skills. You know, we've really lost a lot of our observation and memory skills ever since, cavemen, learned how to write and they didn't have to memorize everything, right? So if we go back to sort of our caveman mentality and we use all of our senses and practice remembering, then that's really going to help us. Also, really celebrate your consistency and, how you feel after you sketch. You might want to note that in your notebook after your 5 or 10 minute session, daily or weekly. Just write a little note saying, how do I feel? Do I feel less stressed? Do I feel happier? Do I feel re-energized to go back to the real world and tackle whatever problems I'm dealing with? And also remember that a good habit takes several weeks to accomplish, to get ingrained in your brain. And so, the longer you do it, the more it's going to get ingrained. But I think most people say it's at least a couple weeks. Now, there was a YouTube video going around years ago about how it takes something like 10,000 hours to get good at a skill. And I think, you can just toss that out the window and think really your skill that we're working on is observation and attention and being in the moment. And the actual skills of drawing, again, will come as you put in those pencil miles, as John Muir Laws likes to say. Right. Okay. So that's the 10 things. So let's see. Let's go back over them really quick. Number 1 is set your intention. Number 2 is really know your goals. Is it weekly or monthly? Number of minutes. Number 3 is to put a date on it. Like they say, put a bird on it. I went to an art festival yesterday, and just about half of the artists there had birds in their art. It was pretty funny. So yes, schedule it. Number 4, pair it with an existing habit. Number 5, find a buddy, especially a kid, to go outside and observe the natural world with. 6, prep your supplies, keep them simple and near where you'll remember them and see them, like they might be hanging on the coat rack next to your door. 7, starting small in both time and format. 8, releasing perfectionist procrastination. And 10, collecting nature treasures for a rainy day or a smoky day or a hot day. All righty. So I'm looking at the comments. Jennifer said you saw a ladybug on a wild fennel plant this morning. Oh, cool. And yeah, and Anne says, yeah, the squirrels are burying the acorns. Yes, we have a lot of gray squirrels. I'm always worried about them because they're always hopping across the street. All righty, so tell me in the chat box, say ready if you're ready to sketch. I'm going to bring over the arm here that has the tripod and my webcam, and we're going to set that up. Tell me if you have any questions so far, and also if you have any additional ideas. I wanted to kind of keep it right and tight to just 10 ideas, but if you have any ideas of things that would really help you get over that procrastination and start a regular journaling practice, feel free to plop them in the chat box. Carolyn said you've had hummingbird moths visiting. Yeah, okay, so Adagio and Diane, Karen. Okay, so let's add this here. This is a painting I did of a notebook, but we're gonna use my notebook here actually, as that's the perfect size. And let's see, what do we have here? What kind of notebook is this? This is mixed media Fabriano notebook. All righty. Let's see, where are we here? I was doing some cute, speaking of little rodent things, I was doing these cute little rabbits the other day, cottontails in my yard. Okay. The paper's wrinkled. Here we go. Have it like that. Okay. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so I am going to just use a pen actually, and so I won't get too much of a perfectionism. If I know I can't erase, then I'm not going to try to be too perfect. All right, how is that light? I think that light could still be better. Just a minute, let me get something in front of you. Let's start simple. This is a cottonwood, or maybe it's a quaking aspen. I think it's quaking aspen. These guys have a very flat stem. It's not round. This little petiole is flat. And supposedly that helps the leaves. It makes them quake in the wind. And that's one reason they're called quaking aspens, or quacking aspens, as some people say. Let me move the light again. Really like to be able to have you guys see this more better. That's better. Okay, so if anybody joined recently, we are finished with our top 10 tips. And now we are going to be actually implementing some sketching. Oh, I have to show you this. I'm going through a lot of old paperwork, and this is me at like age 4 or something, drawing on the porch outdoors. You can see how long ago this was, because this was with my little, what do you call these things? The little barrel. And then this is me in a tree. So I've always loved art and I've always loved nature. Anyway, let's get rid of that. Okay, so again, we're just going to do some quick sketching. So yeah, we're just going to do some quick sketching. And so not going to be too particular about it. Okay, and you don't have to follow along with how I'm doing it. We're just going to do a bunch of things quickly. Let me see what time it is. Uh-oh, I need to plug in my computer. Okay, so here's our leaf. You can start sketching that. Gotta plug this in. There we go. Okay, so right, so yeah, draw it any way you want. So a little bit of an aspen here. This is a very big aspen leaf. I'm just gonna go here. Again, I am just using a pen to keep myself from getting too detailed. And sometimes when you have a mirror image of something, you can just do half of it. Might notice that it has a flat petiole and it's an aspen. These are native here and they're going to turn beautiful colors pretty soon. Has a kind of a pointed end here, and that's funny because it's very flat down here. And then it has these interesting little bumps. And of course, that could take forever to do those bumps. And I am not very good at doing things that repeat. My ADHD is like, I can't handle this. I'm bored. Okay, and then I'm noticing really cool venation. So the veins of a leaf kind of mimic the idea of a whole tree, in that we get smaller and smaller ones, just like on a tree. They branch, and then those branches branch, and it's just really cool that way, right? And leaves are generally a little bit different color on each side. And again, we notice this really flat petiole. It's very interesting. It's not round. Oops, rats. There's a little cord. Okay, so that's that. Moving on. I told you we were going to go fast. I've got some other fun things to do. What do we have here? I'm looking for something else. Oh, yeah. Here we have these native rose hips. So it kind of looked a lot like those currants that I showed you earlier. But we have wild roses here in Central Oregon. And things are already going to seed and creating fruit because we're high elevation. So I don't know where you are in the world, but you know, it's getting to be late summer. And you want to think about the fact that, you know, some things are starting to change really quickly and you won't have those to draw. Now, sometimes when I have something small like this, I'll practice drawing it larger, not only so that you can see it, but also that, you know, I can really appreciate the structure. And so these wild roses, they have these 3 leaflets always, and this leaf is sort of bent. So you see, I'm just doing these gesture sketches. You can be as careful as you want, but again, we're just doing it quickly. And these leaves kind of have this serrated edge, kind of similar to that aspen. So a lot of leaves have these little serrated edges. And then wild roses, they have these little doodads at the base that's kind of like a little leaf. Now, I forgot the name of these things. Stipules. I think they're called stipules. Yeah, so this is a wild rose. And the rose family, it's a very big family. They often, of course, have little prickles on them. But they always have these stipules here at the base of the leaf. And then the leaves are divided into little leaflets. And then my favorite part, of course, is the beautiful hip, the rose hip. And we have little sort of leaves here. And then we've got the rose hip. And again, I'm drawing this larger so that you can see it. Now, the rose hip is the fruit. And they have these leftovers here of the flower. Those are the sepals of the flower. And this is an example of a plant that has an inferior ovary, which means that the fruit or the ovary develops underneath where the flower was. So yeah, that's kind of fun. Yeah. And then, we notice, another one, and maybe, we can get one that's sort of under the other one to give it a little bit of depth. And then maybe another one coming off. Where's that coming off? That's coming off from here. Maybe that could be on top of it. And again, we've got these stipules, and there's going to be 5 stipules because there were 5 petals, which is kind of most common in a lot of flowering plants. And Virginia says, you're using pencil, hard not to erase. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you can see how, messy and sketchy these are. But again, it'll keep you going fast, and fast is good, especially if you're trying to draw something that moves like a bird, or if you have to draw fast, like last week I was up in the high mountains sketching some filming some tutorial videos for my club, and there were lots of mosquitoes. So I couldn't sit for very long sketching. I had to keep moving, else the mosquitoes would eat me alive because I ran out of insect repellent. Okay, so anyway, and you can always get to this stage in the field, then you can take a picture, and then kind of like Karen said, you can go home and get the color, add the color later on. All right, we're gonna move on. Anne says, you like ballpoint pen, then I can press lighter or harder. Yeah, right. And so, even with this, I can do light and I can press a little harder. I like this pen. My friend Marley Pfeiffer, you might know, turned me on to this pen, and I forgot the name of it. It says zebra on it. It's got all these Chinese letters, so I don't know what it is. But, sometimes I'll use this Faber-Castell. It's a Fudenosuke, Tombow Fudenosuke, something like that. Sometimes I'll use this Staedtler. Sometimes I'll just use a good old Sharpie, or this other Faber-Castell that's black. So they come in different colors. So don't overthink it. We're not trying to make a beautiful picture. All right, next, what should we try next? Oh, these are cool. So speaking of, I hate to waste so much paper here. Speaking of sweet peas, like I drew the other day, they have the coolest fruit. Sweet peas are in the legume family, and legumes have, they're named after the name of their fruit, like the legume. Just like a maple's fruit is called a samara. So certain kinds of plants have certain names for their fruits. But what I really thought was super cool was the way that these spiraled. And so you might not be able to see it. I don't know if you can see it very well. Oops, there's a little animal. Gonna get him off there. So how would we draw that spiral? That would be cool. So this is either half of the pea fruit, like if you eat a garden pea, they come apart in two pieces, and each of those pieces spiraled, and then that's the shell of it, and the actual little black seeds fell out already. So that's kind of cool. I don't know if you can see it, but one of the cool things about drawing is that you can accentuate something. Now, again, with the base of the stem, we have 5 stipules. And then we have, basically, it kind of is, I'd say it's kind of tubular. So we'd start with kind of something just like that. And then another piece like this. And then we could show how it's twirling. So like a twirl here, and then a twirl here, and then that piece, that piece, and then it kind of goes around, and there's another twirl, and that piece goes around. And so that's kind of shadowed in there, maybe. It can get confusing if I don't shadow it. And then the same thing over here. So again, the wonderful thing about drawing is it has you really noticing cool structures like that. Anne says your lupins have spirals kind of like that. Yep, lupins in the same family. So kind of like same idea here. And we get this, like that, and then kind of like that again. So I love noticing patterns in nature, patterns and textures. That could be a theme too. And kind of the more you do something, like observe something like this, the faster you get, and then you can draw it faster next time you're in the field. Yeah, so that's a sweet pea, the legume of the sweet pea. Cool. All right. Let's see, what else should we do? I'm taking you on a tour, really, of my neighborhood with these things we're sketching. Okay, so next, let me conserve paper. Okay, so next, some of you guys live in the Pacific Northwest. Do you know what plant this is? Tell me in the chat box if you know what plant this is. And it's very common in Oregon. And in fact, this plant is our state flower. Even though it's not a wildflower like, California has the state flower of California poppies. This isn't a flower, but it does have flowers. It's a shrub with beautiful blue berries. And again, even though we're just in mid-August, we're right in the middle of summer, this has already produced its berries. Those berries are already drawing out and being eaten by the wildlife, and the leaves are already turning color. Yeah, so several of you say holly, and that's a good guess. It does have leaves that kind of are shaped with like holly with these spines on them. And, that's something that brings up something interesting. Let's actually start sketching this. Is that maybe just sketching one of them here. Is that there are so many plants in the world that it's really hard to identify a plant just on its leaves. There are a few things, plants like ginkgo, ginkgo biloba, named after the bilobed leaf. There are just a few plants that have such unique leaves that you can, identify them by their leaves. plants, you often need to see their fruit. Like when you see the legume fruit, you'll know it's in the Fabaceae family. But very few things you can identify just by their leaves. You usually need to see their flowers and or their fruits as well. Nobody's guessing. Oh, Karen, of course. Karen got it. This is our state flower, Oregon grape. And so it's also sometimes called, I think, the holly grape or something, because it does sort of look like grape as well. But you can see the colors are just turning beautiful already. And I love painting leaves in the autumn because they're so fun and variable. And so, yeah, that's Oregon grape. What else? We've done. Okay, here's something else. So if you follow me on Instagram, again, last night I was sharing a hike that I was doing in the habitat here, which is the juniper woodlands. And so moving on, making you move on. We've got juniper berries here, and we've got bitter brush and rabbit brush that blooms during the summer. And this, you can't see it here. What do you think these little round balls are? Tell me in the chat box. So the wonderful thing about, going out and doing tip number 10, which is, collecting for your cabinet of curiosities, is it gives you this search image, right? Gives you a search image. There we go. It gives you a search image. So once you start going out and looking really closely around your neighborhood or your local park, and you've got your little bag to collect things, that really helps you to start looking for things. You get a search image for things. Adagio says seeds. Joe says popcorn seed. Mary is right. These are galls. And I actually I don't know if you can see this. This is my magnifying glass, which is something fun to have. You can have a small one out on a hike, but these are galls, and that means that an insect has created these. Maybe a gall wasp. There's many species of insects that make these. And what happens is the wasp kind of inserts a hormone into the plant that makes the plant grow this, and it's also inserting its eggs. So the eggs will grow inside of the structure that the plant was forced to grow. And then they will be protected inside there, and eventually they will work their way out. And sometimes you can even open these up. This one is very cottony. And yeah, you can see something in there. It's hard to see exactly. I don't know if it hatched already. But anyway, that's an insect gall. And they're really interesting because every species of plant that gets insect galls, they get them from different species of gall wasps or other insects. So yeah, Adagio, a gall is a structure that's created by, I guess you could call it an insect parasite that inserts their hormone to grow this, to force the plant to grow this little coat, protective coat, and it's inserting its eggs. So the egg hatches and the larvae live in there, protected until they're ready to hatch out. So Adagio, that's what a gall is. Isn't that cool? Okay, so anyway, that's kind of fun. And again, that's something that you might draw larger. And sometimes I'll make kind of a smaller drawing so that I kind of do something like life size. So just kind of the stems. And then, those little gall things on the stems. And then I will do, let's see, these are galls on rabbit brush. Then I might do a close-up so that I could really see the details. So maybe a close-up where I was trying to show the gall and it's I don't know, it's fluffiness. It kind of looks like a big cotton ball. Adagio says, "Oh, cool." Yeah. So that's kind of a close-up you could do in your journal. And yeah, most of the rabbit brushes I saw had at least a few of these, but it wasn't really killing it. A lot of parasites will just injure a plant or an animal and not kill it, because then that would be killing their host. All righty, so that's a close-up of that. Oh yeah, you don't need to see my face anymore. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Karen Giles. Okay, Carolyn Lambert, bye-bye. See you later. Okay, so where are we? Oh yeah, okay. One other thing. Oh, you can't see it very well, but I just got these at Trader Joe's. They're a weird plant. They're a weird succulent, and yeah, you can't see that very well. They're called living stones, or lithops, from the, I think, Greek or Latin, meaning stone. And they just look like a stone, and it's a type of succulent that's native to South Africa. Some of you may have taken my succulents class, and I should teach that again. That was really fun. I love succulents, and so many of them have such weird shapes. Okay, so obviously I love plants. So this is my plant room, my sun room. And so, yeah, that's where I can put a lot of my curiosities as well. And I've been talking about my Nature Notebook Club a lot. And I have had a lot of people click on the link to learn more, but I haven't had as many people joining. And so as you continue maybe to work on your sketches, I'd really love to tell you a bit more about my club. I'm very excited. I started this new program in June, and we already have 41 members, I believe. And what it is basically a community of people just like you guys that love nature, that love sketching. And so there's a web page associated with it where all of our content is. And we have lots of really active members in the chat boxes of our program, where people are sharing their observations of the natural world, just like I've been sharing my observations with you, and they're sharing their sketches. And that's the community component. And the Nature Notebook Club also has a monthly Zoom call where we meet at the end of the month and we talk about what we've seen in nature and what we've done in terms of our homework from my tutorials. So half of the Nature Notebook Club is really about community and people sharing, and the other half is my sketching tutorials. Now, they're a lot more detailed than these sketches. These were just for fun, kind of doing something while it's too hot outside. But this club also includes my weekly tips. So kind of related to what we were talking about today, I gave you 10 tips for starting a nature journal practice. And if you implement some of those, maybe you'll feel confident to join our club. It's only $22 a month. So that's less than going to the movies. That's less than taking one art class. That's less than buying a book on drawing. And so it's only $22 a month right now, but I am going to raise the price. So if you get in now, you get to lock in that $22. People have asked me several questions about the club. One of them is, what is my commitment? And basically the commitment is just month to month. So most of my members have continued to stay over the last 3 months, and a few have quit for time or financial reasons. And so if you need to quit the club, there's just a one-click button right in your student profile where you can cancel if you need to. But at $22 a month, it's a steal. So also people are asking, how much time does it take? And I'm trying to make the club as quick and actionable as possible. Just like today, where I talked about my tip on just getting out there for 5 minutes and sketching. So the commitment basically, if you do all of the program, is about, I'd probably say about 4 hours a month. They're about an hour a week. So what it includes is my weekly tips, which are meant to be quick things that actionable that you can do within 5 or 10 minutes. And the other main part is my monthly master class, and that's on a plant or animal that's related to the season. So in June, we did seashells. In July, we did insects. In August, we did reptiles. And next month in September, we're talking about trees, tree biology, and how to sketch them. And then there's also a whole library of background content to help you get started. So whether you're brand new to nature sketching or journaling, or a little bit more advanced, I have quick, actionable videos on setting up your materials, and lots of different handouts to print and bring with you in the field, that kind of thing. Jennifer says, yep, you're a founding member. Thank you so much. And Karen is also. So yeah, there's basically 4 parts to the Nature Notebook Club. The community, and the weekly tips, and the monthly master class, and then the end of the month Zoom call, which we're having next week on Sunday. And those are really fun, where we all get together and share our screens, unlike today, where it's kind of more of a one-way thing. We share our screens, and we share what we've been sketching during the month, and the homework we've done related to the club, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I did put the link in the chat box where it says membership.io/register. Another question a lot of potential students have is, am I going to forget about this? So many people join a membership, maybe it's Netflix or maybe it's Audible. There's all kinds of online memberships you can join, and you think, I'm just going to forget about this. It's going to go on my credit card and I'm just going to totally forget. But you won't, because I frequently email you about what we're chatting about in the chat box, and what members are doing and upcoming events. So you're not going to forget about it. And also, again, fear of a recurring charge on your credit card. So again, it's very easy to cancel if you have to. It's only $22 a month. And if you have to cancel, don't feel bad. You can just email me also if you want. Say, hey, I'm just kind of too busy for this right now, but whatever. And yeah, another question people get or ask is the Nature Notebook Club right for me? And so, I think that pretty much anybody that loves nature and wants to try to have a deeper connection through a nature journaling practice. It's just wonderful to have something you can look back on, no matter how detailed your drawings, if they're just 5 minutes on a rose hip, or if they're more like, an hour that I spent on drawing this fun beetle that I released in nature. So it's just up to you. So yeah, Lisa is another member. Thank you so much. Yep. So yeah. So you get out of it what you put into it, And so are there any questions that you can ask me in the chat box about the Nature Notebook Club? Again, it's a monthly membership. You just pay by the month. You stay as long or as short as you want. We've got sketching tutorials, journaling tutorials. They're all really short and sweet and actionable because I know everybody's busy and I want to give you just enough content to keep you interested and not feel overwhelmed. You may have joined another membership or a course before and it just had too much content and you felt like I'm not getting my money's worth because I can only do an hour of the 20 hours a week. But my program, I'm designing it with the help of a mastermind that I'm in that is focused on, how to create a successful membership that really serves your audience. So yeah. Adagio says, can we keep drawing? Yeah. Now, speaking of trees, like I said, part of the membership includes a monthly masterclass. And we are focused on trees next month. Our live event is September 7th. But you can always join, watch the replay. I add those to our hub or our membership after the live event. Just a sec. Let me move. I certainly don't mind hanging out longer and sketching with you because even though I have the air conditioning off because it's too noisy, I'm not too hot because thankfully I've had the windows closed because the air quality is terrible. William says, hello from Puerto Vallarta. Hola, ¿qué tal? I have visited Puerto Vallarta and that part of Mexico many times, mostly bird watching, and I love it there. William, I've actually also been lucky to go up into the mountains and visit the Huichol people and their villages, which has been amazing. So yeah, I love me encanto, yo encanto México. Ahora estudiando español un poquito. Okay, so yeah. Well, the lighting is terrible on this. But the cool thing about pine cones and other things that have repetition is that, yeah, the lighting in this room is not as good as it could be, is that they have repeating patterns that are pretty obvious. And so it's kind of cool. I'm not sure what kind of conifer this is. It's not native. It was in somebody's yard. But basically, the way you draw any conifer, and we'll talk about this a bit more in my master class. And again, ask me in the chat box if you have questions about the Nature Notebook Club, because I've had many, many people clicking on the link but not signing up. And so I'm wondering why. Okay, so the thing about conifers is they have a really regular pattern, and there's some spirals that go this way and spirals that go that way. So generally, I'm just going to kind of do this really rough just to show you, is when you're looking at any pine cone, you're going to see some angles that go this way, and then you're going to see some steeper angles going this way. And there's going to be a very specific number of those angles or spirals for the species of pine cone. And they always follow the Fibonacci series or golden mean. So there might be 3 spirals going this way and 5 this way, or 5 and 8, or 8 and 13. It's all the Fibonacci series. So, you would start off by drawing this. And then you could get a bit more detailed with each of those areas. And we see them going out like this, sort of. These are kind of fun how they're going out like this. And then in each one of these blocks, you see an individual, what we call a cone scale. And these are kind of flipped up. So if you're looking at them straight on, you can't really see that. But if you're looking at them sort of from the side, they're going to flip up like that. So that's really fun. So anyway, I'll talk more about that in my master class. Okay, so yeah, you can draw that. Again, the lighting isn't that great here for this because, yeah, it just isn't. But anyway, that's the idea, is there's going to be some spirals going to the left and some spirals going to the right. And then you just fill in each of those sort of diamond shapes with your shape. And I'm just going kind of quick and then these up top are kind of actually curling up. So in my club, I do more detailed drawings. Here is just kind of fun gesture sketches. And, the more you look at something, the more you understand it. And again, if you never would have drawn this, you never would have known that you've got these interesting spirals. And now you probably will never forget. So if I showed you more pine cones, different pine cone species, like the giant sequoia, and like this, I think this is some kind of spruce. They have these different kinds of spirals and different numbers of them. And there's going to be some kind of pattern to that chaos. Yeah, Cindy Olson, the Fibonacci sequence. And so that's where you get one number plus the next number. So 1 plus 1, equals 2. Now I forgot how to do it. Plus 1 equals 3. You add the two numbers before. Anyway, the Fibonacci sequence is 1, 3, 5, 8, 13. And so most pine cones have a combination of 3 and 5 spirals, or 5 and 8, or 8 and 13. Not usually too many more than that. But yeah, Carolyn says you find them difficult to sketch. Right. And, there's just a lot of repetition. So it could take you a long time to draw this whole thing. And I get, I don't know, I have ADHD and I have a hard time drawing things that are repeating. I get bored very quickly and I start doing symbolic drawing. But you can just do a little section if you want to as well and do a better job at it. So like if you just wanted to really capture like this part super realistically. Now I'm looking at it at a different angle than you are. Kind of going to stand up here, so, you start to see again, this concept of these parts that are overlapping, and the further they are to the left or right, the more they're going to be have their spines poking up. So, some of them have that, some of them don't. We've done a lot of drawing and a lot of talking, and I appreciate you being here. But I hope you have been inspired a bit to, think about those 10 tips we talked about for fostering a more regular nature journaling practice. And I hope you enjoy just doing some quick gesture sketching. I had so many more things we could have sketched, but I hope you get the idea. And I really hope that you'll think about joining the Nature Notebook Club. Again, it's only $22 right now, but I am going to raise the price soon and actually close the doors to new members for the season so that I can really focus on those and not focus so much of my time on promoting it, because that takes me a lot of time and money to do. And I'd rather just be teaching to my students. I got to get going. Thank you so much, and we'll see you around. Yeah, if you join soon, you'll be able to join us live next Sunday for our monthly meeting. And then on the 7th is our tree masterclass. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.